What's going on, guys? Freddie Finance here, and today I'm going to answer probably my most asked question that I get on TikTok: how to get started investing. So this channel is never going to recommend any particular investments like a stock, but it will teach you the knowledge and concepts to make your own investment decisions and make them confidently. So if you want to hear more content like this and see more, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. CNBC came out with an article not too long ago that basically 50% of Americans don't know how to invest. So if you're watching this in 2021 and you don't know how, don't feel bad. Like I always say, the school system doesn't teach us about financial literacy, so this is why that I'm putting together a step-by-step guide on how to get started. Now let's dive in. I'm gonna go over the 6 steps that I followed when I got started investing in this guide. These steps are so essential to build the foundation of your wealth so you can set yourself up for financial freedom. We're gonna go over what you need to get started, certain accounts that you should open, how to choose your investments, and how to automate things. But first, the information on this channel is not financial advice. This is for entertainment and educational purposes. So the first step is to make sure you have your emergency fund or rainy day fund in order. And this is usually 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. So in your budget, which I'll talk about in another video, you have to calculate how much of your essential living expenses are for 3 to 6 months, and this is depending on job security. So your essential living expenses are rent, food, car, things that you have to pay for to live. Non-discretionary are things like clothes and all that other nonsense. But everything with money and investing is relative, just like in yoga or the weight room. You don't want to compare yourself to others. You need to assess and know your current situation better than anybody else and worry about that. You cannot be comparing yourself to others or thinking about someone else, because what they're doing is completely different than you. After you have your emergency fund in order and then have extra cash on top of that, you're ready to open up your first investment accounts. There are 2 types of accounts that you can open, and I want you guys to think of them as a retirement account and then a non-retirement account. So when you're opening up your first investment account, I recommend opening up a retirement account, which is otherwise known as an IRA. And again, in another video, I'll go more into detail about what this is and what it means, but open up an IRA as soon as you can and make sure it's a Roth as your first one. A lot of people actually think an IRA is a type of investment when it's actually just an account type. So when you open up your IRA or whatever account you make, you have to pick the actual investments inside that account type. If your company offers you a 401k, that's basically the company-sponsored version of an IRA. So make sure you're taking full advantage of that, and especially if they're offering you a match. But before you make your first investment, you need to follow step 3, and that's decide which type of investor you are. And once you decide the type of investor you are, you're going to be able to better make investment decisions. There are a few things that you need to think about when deciding which type of investor you are. You need to think about your long-term goals, like retirement, some short-term goals, whether it be buying a house, a new car, or an investment property, and you need to think about how you can handle risk, which is otherwise known as your risk tolerance. So long-term and short-term goals are pretty self-explanatory. Everybody knows how to think about them, and you know yours better than anybody else. But risk tolerance is something that everybody also has to think about, and the way to think about risk tolerance is think about if your money lost 20%, 30% in value. How would that make you feel? What do you think you would do? Would you be okay, feel fine, want to buy more? Would you just stay, let it sit and just ride it out? Or would you be freaking out and want to sell everything off? So based on how you react to that is how you can allocate your investments, and you can be as aggressive as you want or as conservative as you want. And that means risky or less risky. Now that we know what type of investor we are and how we handle risk is when we can actually get to the fun part about investing, and that's actually choosing your investments. Based on how you handle risk, your current financial situation, and your age is how you can decide how to pick your investments. Investments such as stocks and index funds are on the more riskier side, and investments such as cash and bonds are on the less risky side. But if you don't really know too much about the different asset classes and don't really want to do too much thinking, then your best bet is to diversify and invest into low-cost index funds. If you can handle risk and you're young, you should be mostly invested in stocks or index funds. And if you're older and can't really afford downturns in the market, you should be in more conservative investments like cash, money market funds, or bonds. In my industry, the old saying is the younger you are, the more heavily invested in stocks you should be in your allocation pie. This is what a sample one looks like. But again, I don't like these cookie cutter age-based portfolio allocations because again, everything is always relative and it's based on your personal situation. After you pick your investment allocation, it's time to monitor and automate. And what I mean by automate is set up dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging is the process of investing the same dollar amount over the same frequency of time consistently. So that's like investing $1,000 every 2 weeks, $500 every week, $2,000 every month, whatever you want to do. It's completely personal and up to you. Setting up dollar cost averaging is the way to take thinking out of investing. And again, if you've seen my first video, you know that emotions play a big role in investing, and this is a way to keep your emotions out of them. Most investment companies nowadays even have automated investment plans to where you can set up this dollar cost averaging schedule and not even have to think about or do anything. This is the best way to do it, and I highly recommend it. Your investment allocation isn't going to look the same your whole investing life. It's going to change as your life changes. So you got to make sure that you assess your current financial situation and your investments at least every year. Once you have the foundation of your asset-based investments in order, it's time for the final step, and that's invest in yourself. This is where you learn a skill or a trade, preferably a high income skill that's going to allow you to make money to be able to put more money away to your investments so that you could retire and have financial freedom quicker. If you learned something from this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm working really hard to try to give you guys practical financial knowledge that you can use in your life and better your current financial situation. Drop a comment on what you think or if you have any questions. If not, I'll see you guys in the next video.